actor of all time, Giancarlo Esposito. Come on,
Good to be here. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, sit wherever you'd like, whatever's comfortable.
Next one.
Okay. So while I start, just go ahead and start lining up over here on the wall like we've been doing. Get there. I was trying to figure out where I wanted to start because I had the pleasure of doing this twice now. And I still always go back to one movie. And you were just hilarious in it. And I got to talk to John C. once. I love Nothing to Lose. I just do.
I knew that's where you were going.
I can't help it. Is it because I'm of a certain age or what?
No, I mean, I think it's because you probably remember that as being very funny and very entertaining.
And you don't?
I do. Johnny C is one of my favorite people. He's on a new show now.
I think so. I know he did the first episode of Scrubs, but I can't remember the new name.
No, he's on. I'll remember it in a moment.
The Scrubs reboot. Yeah.
He's on a new show. No, it's the guy who did The Office.
Yeah.
And I hear he's very funny. He's one of my favorite people in the world. We had a great time shooting that movie. It was Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence,
right,
and Johnny C. So one of my favorites, and it was really not going to go my way. It was an example for me to be open and vulnerable. And I went into the audition, and I was sucking on a lollipop. And I started singing this song that was very popular at that time, Pastime Paradise. It had been redone by a rapper, and it just popped into my head. And I got a call saying, "You're not gonna get this role." And I said, "Why?" They said, "Well, they're gonna offer it to this rapper who did that song." And I said, "Darn, I gave him the idea." It worked. It turned out that person had a conflict of dates. They came back to me. They loved me. I did the movie, and it was nice because I knew Tim Robbins. So much of what we do is about relationships, right? So you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, and it's really important to realize that when you put out in the universe that you want to work with certain people because of their integrity and because they do what they do at the highest level, you start to attract that. And when you attract that, it's my belief that it comes to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I mean, I could have went with Abigail, Maximum Overdrive. I could have done all of them, but yes. All right, first question, first victim, come on up.
So, I know that you've been under many directors over the years. Which one has been your favorite to work with? And which one has been the most stressful? And is there any funny story you can give?
I like to work with directors because I do look up to them. I worked with Spike Lee in very early days. He had made a few independent films of his own or student films, and before we got together. And I liked that he had a sense of how to direct by allowing people to feel like they were a team. And so and because he's a sports fan, that team effort certainly brings people together. So I enjoyed working with him. We used to call him Coach when we started to work together. You have to take certain chances with directors because sometimes directors are, and we as human beings overthink things. So you get a lot of notes and all that, and sometimes it's really great to be spontaneous and do what you feel. But actors are normally shy to just do something outside of the script and make it their own, and I think that's where the magic happens. So I was doing a Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing. No, School Days. And we were on the AU Center at the Quad, and Lawrence Fishburne and I had a scene, and it wasn't written up to our standard. And so I suggested to Lawrence that he go off during lunch and write what he's going to say in the scene, on the lines of the scene. I'll do the same thing, but we will not discuss it. We'll improvise it when the camera rolls. And so he came back after lunch, he had it, I had it, we didn't know what we were gonna say, but we were gonna stay in the moment and be spontaneous. And the camera rolled, and we did the scene, and toward the end, Spike yelled cut and said, "Who said that?" And I said, "I did." "Who wrote that?" "It's not what I wrote." And I said, "I know." He said, "Do it again." So he loved it. You know, when things like that happen, it really makes things work. But sometimes it can be insulting to a director or a writer. And so I've had other experiences with other directors. Harold Becker, who was a commercial director and never directed a film, who directed Taps, and who really, was at odds with Timothy Hutton sometimes, and with Sean Penn, who's a very forceful personality, Tom Cruise. That was the movie that put all those guys over the top. And his directions were, just to do something bigger. So I had to burn up at the boiler in that scene. He was just like, "Scream! Louder! Louder! Louder!" And I was just like, oh God, this guy, he annoyed me a little bit. But so you go through many different kind of relationships with directors. But I always prefer the ones who are, I'm working with a guy now named J.R. Cole. He was a writer on Black Panther. And I really love the way he directs, because he's really soft-spoken but thoughtful. And he gives you ideas without giving you direction or telling you how to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person, come on up.
Yes, love season 6 of Better Call Saul, and I have a question. Was it difficult to portray Gus Fring, because since he's normally so cold, was it difficult to portray him as being paranoid?
No, not at all. I mean, before I accepted Better Call Saul, which I had a hard time saying yes before I talked to Vince, because I felt like I didn't want to mess with Gustavo Fring, because he was already an iconic character after our first round. And so on Saul, I really wanted to know that I had the ability to create him differently. So a lot of what you saw there were my ideas to be able to go back in time 6, 8 years and create a guy who wasn't so confident but not the same guy as in Breaking Bad. For me as an actor, I never want to do the same thing over and over again. I want to do something differently. And so that, exactly what you're talking about, that paranoia, that vulnerability, that was what I was looking to do, to have the character be different than he was before in Breaking Bad.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next question. Let's keep them rolling.
Hey, Giancarlo. I was just wondering, my son and I are a big fan of yours. We've watched pretty much everything you've done, but I was wondering if you enjoyed doing Kaleidoscope and what you liked about it.
I love that show. I came into that show late. I was doing, I think it was the end of mini-season 4 of Better Call Saul, and I got a call for that particular script. It was right, COVID was ending, and they had chosen someone who didn't want to take a COVID test, and who bowed out. And they needed me right away. There was all this drama, kaflama, that they needed me down there, and I said I'm not available until I'm done with this gig, which was the 3rd week in August. And he has to go and have divers training and do underwater stuff, and does he swim and all this stuff. And I said, just tell him I'm a certified diver. And then everyone calmed down. They just started to relax. And of course they wanted me to come, and they wanted to have me, to test me underwater with divers and all that, because of all the cracking the safe underwater. I loved that project. I loved the ability to use my craft to play 2 different ages. Like I was playing a guy 27 years apart, and as an actor, that's always a wonderful challenge to play someone younger and play someone older. It was challenging for the timing of the makeup. We had it at a 4-hour makeup to get me to look younger, and we had to chip away at that and bring it down, because I had to make those changes during the episode. So we got it down to about 2 hours. But I loved it. There were many challenges on that project, but I liked it for a number of reasons. One, when you're doing a TV show, you get an episode, you're doing an episode this week, and by the end of the week, you get next week's episode. So but with Kaleidoscope, it was completely, they had 9 episodes written already. And because my character had to go on this long journey, I was really pleased that I could see the whole thing and everything connected to another. So I remember being in the hotel room and having a long conference table and laying all of the scripts out in front of me and making the connection between all of the different episodes. Now, Kaleidoscope wasn't numbered. It was a very different system. All the episodes were in colors, green, blue, yellow, orange, and I really liked that. But I had to keep track of where my character was, because I played 2 different characters. And then we had a director who didn't make it, who came in and was a really excellent director, but he really wasn't with us. You know how you can sometimes be there but not there, and you're kind of phoning it in? Well, he was doing that job. And so after 10 days, all the other actors were a little bit like, he's not really with us, he's not really here. And so they became a little disgruntled. So I had to stand up and become a leader. And then the network was calling me, Netflix was calling me, you know, is he getting what you need? And I'm like, you're asking me? You want to ask me? No. But it's okay, because he's doing the first block. So normally in TV shows like that, a block is 2 episodes. So a director does 2, 2, and 2. And that was what this guy was contracted for. And I said, you know, look, he'll shoot it, but we're gonna have to go back and reshoot it, because he's not getting what I think we need to do it. So I was empowered to sort of tell the truth, and the guy was a friend of Ted Sarandos, and the showrunner, showrunner, he was his first time, but he was very thorough and very good. And he said, you know, they're never gonna fire him. And eventually they stood up and they did. They let him go because he wasn't fulfilling the obligation. And we found another director for the first block, and we were off and running, and we made a great show. It was a very exciting show for me. I am convinced that we need to go back and do more, because you never see what happens to me in the end. And I love the fact that you could see things from a different angle. If you haven't seen Kaleidoscope, you should see it, because you can watch it in any order you want. And it's all the same heist, but from a different viewpoint. And I love shows like that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you.
I want to thank you for amazing performance you've done in all your roles, but what is your favorite role or a role that you wish you could get?
Favorite role, or the role that you wish he wants to play eventually?
Well, I mean, people ask me this question a lot, and I answer it in a very, in a way that's close to my heart. My favorite role is the role I'm doing right now. It's because that keeps me thinking in the present. Yes, I have desire to play other characters historically and otherwise, but the role that I'm playing today or tomorrow or looking forward to or prepping, I have 4 films that are in a slate that I'm prepping, are always my favorites. Only because I don't believe I can live in what I've done before. I loved Gustavo Fring when I was doing it, because it was galvanized by doing something different. I loved Stan Edgar when I was doing him, and that's still a bit of an ongoing piece, because I'm excited by that particular character who is so powerful without having any power at all. You know, no superpowers. I'd love to play Pushkin, who is an incredible, you know, poet, writer of mixed race that was Russian. I like, you know, historical figures to play, but I also, you know, want to do a comedy, and I also want to do a rom-com. You know, that you know, we don't have rom-coms with people of a certain age, you know, who are, you know, I don't consider
Well, they barely make them anymore.
They barely do, and I think it's important to look at people.
More comedies.
Yeah,
They just don't.
They don't make them because they're tentpole action movies, because we're so attached to violence and movement.
And IP.
And so it would be nice to see some films that, and we have this year, Sentimental Value, that deal with, you know, things that we're hiding away about our families and really afraid to show each other. That was a great movie in that way.
Yeah.
Because it really dealt with relationships of our internal family between father and daughter. I have 4 girls, that we don't really speak about. So I have aspiration to do things I haven't done before, and that's always exciting to me.
Thank you for your question. All right, next person, come on up. Go ahead, throw 'em.
Hi there.
So you've done a lot of different mediums of acting over your career. I really love your work in theater. I went on a deep dive about that a couple of years ago when I wrote a paper about it. So how did your early work in theater carry over to voice acting roles in television and movies? What do you think is similar between the different mediums, and what do you think are some big differences?
Well, I mean, film is a hot medium. It's large screen. Television is a cool medium. Marshall McLuhan, back in the 30s and 40s, explained that. He was a great, brilliant mind who really understood entertainment.
The medium is the message.
Medium is the message. There you go, baby. For me,
He was slightly impressed for a half a second.
Well, no, I am. I mean, I come from an old school background, and I studied communications in college in 78, 79. I had been an actor at 8 years old, but then, I was too old to be young and too young to be old, and so work dried up, and I went to school to learn how to be a communicator behind the camera, and not realizing then it would feed into exactly what I do today in producing and directing as well as acting. But so I had my own radio show in college. I learned I shot all the 78, 79 Iona basketball games, so I could understand how to translate what I do to what you see. But my theater training was everything. I think it's the same, and by the way, it's the same no matter what you do. You're communicating information, and you're allowing an audience to get inside of what you're trying to convey, whether it be a story, whether it be the weather, whether it be the news, and that's what we do in life, because we've been giving voices and we've been given presence. So my theater background played into everything. It's our imagination, right? When you tell a story, it's your imagination that allows you not only to write it but also to translate it. And so that goes from comic books to drama. And so what we do is we look into our mind's eye, we find the words for what we see visually, depending on how you create. And your imagination is what extends that vision to a collective consciousness, right? So then we're able to really allow other people into the world that we've created. So if I didn't have my theater background, I don't know that I would be so open and vulnerable to allowing my instrument to play. And that's what I've been doing for so many years, is cultivating an instrument. So when I became a director and a producer, that was cultivating a different part of the instrument. As a producer, I had to be a salesman. Part of it is acting. Part of it is allowing someone to understand your passion. I did a show that's was started on AMC, it's now on Netflix. I'm very proud of it. It's called Parish. And it took me 10 years to get that show to the screen. But I had to be able to share my vision and passion for what it was and allow people to come on for the ride to get those episodes done. So everything comes from the commitment that you have for the material that you're trying to do. You have to believe, and I believe that if you build it, they will come. You're welcome.
You're here.
Blue.
Hi there.
Dorsey, you played the villains super great well. Love it. The other person that plays a great villain is Christoph Waltz. I was wondering if you'd ever be interested in doing like a movie or show with him as like rival villains against each other, warring or something.
Sure, you bring me a formidable foe, I'll go up against him.
Have you wrote the pilot?
No.
Yes.
Would you be interested?
Yeah, I mean, I like Christoph and what he does. I think the danger is to do the same thing over and over again. You know, I think after you do it for a number of years, for me now, I'm not really interested in villains. You know, I'll play them if they're complicated. I find they're not written in a complicated way because they're written these days. Christoph, his career, right? He's played great villains, but now it starts to dissipate and wane. So it's really about the depth of what's written. I want to see him do a comedy. I want to see him, do something different because, what happens is you start to get offers for what you've done before, and I'm not at all interested in that. But I do love what he does, and it would be great to work with him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi, good morning. First I would just like to say hello on behalf of my boyfriend. He couldn't be here today, but he's a great fan of your work.
Thank you.
But I wanted to ask a question on your work in Brave New World. What was it like working with Anthony Mackie or like in a Marvel film in general?
I love Anthony Mackie. We have a long history of circling each other in New York theater, and he once chased me out of a venue on 8th Street and asked me for advice many, many years ago. So little did I know after that moment, and I gave him a good amount of time on the sidewalk, giving him some advice that he never forgot. And so when we came back together on this particular piece, he let me know, allowed me to know that I was on his bucket list to work with, which was a great compliment. I've been a big fan of his for a long time, and it's been nice to see his growth as an actor and a human being. So Marvel, I love those guys. I love what they do. There was some fan casting going on a number of years ago about me playing, and still continues, about me playing Charles Xavier, which I would have loved to do, but again, that's been done. But all of that fan casting really works because that allowed me to have a conversation with Nate Moore at one Emmy Awards that he knew about all that fan casting, and he was like, "We're big fans of yours at Marvel. We'd love to work with you at some point." So Brave New World came about in a very strange way. They had shot the whole movie. They had tested the movie. The fans felt like there was more than one movie in there, and they weren't really satisfied. And I got a call saying, "Would you come and join us? We're doing what we're calling reshoots or additional shooting. We would want to add you in to the film." And they never showed me the script or anything. They just said, "It's 8 days, 4 days of training. The character is going to be the head of the Serpent Society, and we don't know what it's going to be yet." So I started to do my homework on Seth Volker and the comic, and dove really deep into it, and I was there, on set doing this military training and all this, trying to figure out how to weave, sidewinders, colors into the wardrobe, but they wanted him to be a paramilitary guy. They didn't want, if you know the history of Seth Volker and Sidewinder, he was kind of a scientist accountant guy who steps up, and they wanted to allude to that, but have him be really real. And so I went and shot my few days with Anthony, and we had a blast because we were, shooting at each other, fighting each other, which was really pretty terrific. But it still wasn't complete. And I left there, and I got a call 2 weeks later. They added me in, they tested the movie, and they said, they didn't know what to say to me. "We want to do another scene." And I, as an actor, you think, "Oh, wait, did I not do good enough? Was I not good enough?" I was nervous about that, and they got on the phone and said, "Bottom line is, they want more Sidewinder. We want more Giancarlo." So I said, okay. So they wrote a 5-page scene that we then additionally added into it, and I was done. And I went to see the movie with 4 of my daughters in a private screening, and then I understood the problem, right? I understood what they were trying to fix, and did they really achieve it? In my book, they didn't. Look, I'm a hard guy to put in a movie at the last minute. Because they had 2 bad guys, and there's only one bad guy, baby.
Come on. Love it. All right, I'm going to try to get through these last 4 as quick as possible. Come on up. Go ahead.
Speaking of only having one bad guy, what was it like working with the actor who plays Lalo Salamanca in
literally just texted. I was just in Mexico City. Tony Dalton lives in Mexico City. I absolutely adore him as a human being. What was it like? It was fun. Because you had a guy who wasn't trying to out-bad me. he was trying to outsmart me. And I'll never forget the scene in the chicken freezer where he walks in with that shitty grin on his face. I mean, you know what I mean? I love working with him because, you know, he came at it, he knew that little twinkle in his eye. He's a great actor. I want to see him just reach the top because he has great instinct. He's light, he's intense, and it was wonderful. Look, you know, eventually we wound up together in the dirt, and we had to do that scene on the steps where he's got to kick me, and I looked at him and I said, "Tony, kick me." I said, "Tony, kick me down the stairs. I don't want to hurt you. You're not going to hurt me. Just do it." We were so supportive of each other, and he's the kind of actor I always want to work with. Love him. Thank you.
so much. All right. Come on.
Hello.
Hi there.
Speaking of comedies, you played in a couple episodes as Gilbert in Community. Can you talk about how or why you got that role and what it was like working with Dan Harmon in the cast?
I like Dan Harmon. He called me, asked me to do him a favor. I got there, I was traveling with a daughter, going to another gig, and I got there at midnight. There was no script. They got the script to my hotel at 1 o'clock in the morning. I stayed up all night to learn it. I get up at 6 to go to the set. I'm with my daughter. We go in, and Dan was lovely. None of the actors knew their lines. My daughter comes into the set, and she stays for 5 minutes, and she's like, "Papa, what is going on here? You stayed up all night and learned your lines." I said, "They're all comedians. They don't need to learn." "What do you mean they don't need to learn the lines?" "They don't need to learn the lines." She said, "Okay, Papa, I'm going to go to the trailer and take a nap. And I want to tell you something." I said, "What?" "These are not your people."
That is an awesome story. Not your people.
Not your people.
These are not professionals.
So, you know, that's kind of how it was. I love what I did. I love Dan Harmon. I love all of them in the cast, but it's just like, and I could throw down with them, but you know, it was a different experience, but it was wonderful.
Thank you so much for that story.
It's true.
I know, but I saw you light up with it. It's like, you know, it's so funny.
Well, it's our pleasure been a fan since seeing you in Malcolm X and playing Ali's dad. I'm a Louisville native, so that was great. But the question is, me and my wife are huge fans of Pluribus. We're a huge fan of your work in Breaking Bad, Call Saul. I was wondering if you had any interest in being in Pluribus, working with Vince again, maybe. I don't know if you've seen the show.
I would love to work with Vince again. I love Pluribus as well. I think it's a slow burn show that has a very big message. I think it's an important show. I think it's going to help us define our attention span. We want it right away, right now. Are we willing to wait and be more thoughtful and mindful about what we're watching and the effect that it has upon us? And how does that affect the world around us? It's really important to be careful about the entertainment that we take in and how it affects our psyches, and to put it where it belongs. And so I'm very inspired by Pluribus. I'd love to work with Vince again. I don't know if it'll be that show. I don't think so, but it'll be something else equally measured and as important.
Can't wait. Thank you.
All right. No pressure. Last question, Scout Trooper.
I'm sorry, I am about to screw it up.
You got this.
Are really insightful. Mine is not.
That's actually some of those are the best ones, man.
I noticed that you play a lot of guys who wear suits and ties. Which one wore it best?
Oh my God, I actually like that question. What do you think? That's a good one.
It is. I mean,
because you're always sharply dressed in like here in real life too.
I can't help myself. It's top and bottom, baby. You know, top and bottom. What's in between? You can skip that a little bit, but the shoes got to be shining. The hat's got to be great.
I'm gonna cover my
yeah, you got to work on it, baby.
Here's the thing. I had the dad Skechers on because, you know, I get to a certain age. They were judging me, so I brought the black ones. And then there's one person, he was like, "Show me these feet." It's been a thing for 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
It hasn't stopped.
I would have to say Stan Edgar. I love Stan Edgar's dress. I love his command of other human beings. I love his being not afraid. Look, we live in a world where there's a lot of fear around us and people perpetuating fear. We have war on every part of our continent. I think we need to understand how to survive in our spirit with all of the bad news that comes from the media, with all of that's going on in the world, to know and to be empowered that we can change that. How do you change it? You change it day to day with every interaction that you have. How do you change it? By not allowing your thoughts to be in a fearful place. You are the light, and what you have inside you can change somebody's world. When do we start our day? By going, wow, that smile just changed my whole feeling about who I am. When do we start our day? By going, oh, you look great today. Your question was wonderful. Let's not self-deprecate ourselves. Let's allow ourselves to understand that what you say is powerful. Words are powerful. I love you is powerful. I respect you, more powerful. I don't agree with you, but I'm going to agree to disagree because that's who I am. So that's where we need to get back to. I was raised differently than you, so I understand it differently. But you know what? The way you say that, I understand where you're coming from. I can get that. But we can live in the same vortex, in the same world. We can get along without war, and we can love each other in a new way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just brought it to church. Come on, still